This is a very large and very interesting writing slope for a number of different reasons. It's made out of amboyna or possibly Afzelia burl wood, and it follows the design of a Kingwood jack-in-the-box writing slope that we had a while ago, which has proved to be our most popular ever video. We'll get into why it's like that later, but as I said, it's very large. So just to give you an idea of how large it is, I'm going to put another standard size writing slope on top. So this is a box by David Edwards, and it's fairly standard in size, if there is such a thing for a writing slope. And you can just see, comparing one on top of the other, the difference in size of the two. Right, well, let's move in a little bit closer and show you the detail of this box. So to open the box, we'll use a key and unlock it. And the fall comes forward as you would expect. And we can see that we've got a bank here, which is hidden. There's a cupboard, there's the top of two drawers. That immediately tells us that this is a jack-in-the-box writing slope. In other words, this end section lifts up. Well, in order to do that, we've got to take out these drawers, and you might just be able to see that there's some wear here in line with the drawers and on this side. So this middle section where a drawer doesn't come out is slightly raised. Now that's either been purposely cut or just over time that wear has occurred. And the reason we've got to take those out is because you've got two wooden sliding locks here which hold the jack-in-the-box in place. So with those unlocked, we can then lift up the jack-in-the-box. And when it lifts up, you've got these two wedges on the side which pop out, and they're rebaited so that when they drop back down, they just sit on that edge there to hold this up. But that's not the only method of holding up, because as with the sliding locks to the top drawers to lock it closed, you've also got sliding locks here which also lock into place. So with that nice and secure, we can put the drawers back in. What we've got one out though, let's have a closer look. Now that is satin wood, solid satin wood to the fascia. The linings are a wood from the mahogany family. Now this is really quite nicely made, and you can also see just at the top here you've got a piece of ebony as well, which just sets the satin wood off nicely. But curiously, it's the only place that ebony has been used to do this. You know, there's none at the bottom to add to it as well, or to the sides, just in that one place. And to this satin wood cupboard door, we have got some inlaid stringing with a burr oval. Now, this stringing and the burr oval was likely manufactured in England, possibly in Birmingham, and it would have then been bought ready-made to be used on this door. We open the cupboard, we can see there's a single shelf in there. Now the Kingwood box that we had was English in manufacture. This similar design box isn't, and I can tell you that for a number of reasons. Firstly, all of this wonderful amboyna is not veneered, it's solid wood. And if you look here to the bottom panel, you can see that's solid wood. If we look to these sides, which could have been made out of a secondary timber, they're also solid amboyna. An English cabinet maker wouldn't have done that, they would have used veneers. So that immediately tells us that it's been made overseas. So we're looking at India or China. Well, I would say that it's Chinese export, made by a Chinese hand in one of the many ports that they worked in Southeast Asia. And another pointer towards that for me is these pink ribbons to pull the drawers open. We don't have any space for this going up and down, so we don't want anything protruding, and these ribbons are fairly typical of Chinese export work. We've seen that before on other pieces with a Chinese hand. Now the English Kingwood box that we had, the drawers were set back slightly and they had lion mask handles which protruded, but because they were set back, it wasn't an issue with them dropping down or lifting up. Another thing that suggests to me that it's Chinese export is the strap work here. Now it's a white metal, it might be packed on, it might be silver, it's not hallmarked, or possibly nickel. But that's more likely Chinese as well. And also we've got this raised oval engraved plate with the initials GGK to it. Another reason that I can tell you it's not English, and let's just move this round slightly so you can see, are the wedges to the sides. Now these are loose, which is not very practical, because if you don't know that and you lift it up too much, because they're loose, they pop out. They don't pop out now because we've got this locked, it won't lift any higher. But you lift it up too much to get it in position, and these just fall out, and then you're in a bit of a mess. Now an English cabinet maker in some way would have these hinged or fixed to the top. The Kingwood box we had a little inset brass hinge there. We've seen other Chinese ones that have also had hinges. That's unusual not to have those fixed. That hasn't been very well thought out. While we're up here, I can also just show you this top support as it works. So you can see this bar coming out here, which fits into a hole in here, which will keep it locked, and similar to the other side. Right, let's also have a look at the back. So using these skeletal handles here, I can lift it up, and hopefully if you look at this top edge, you will see a series of V's, inverted V's, cut into it. Now what that tells us is that originally those were cut to take dividers So whoever was making this either had a change of heart, and instead of having dividers in here with the boards fitting into those V grooves that you can see from the back, or they repurposed this piece of wood. One of the two. Now, the English version that we had of this had a sprung panel down here, and behind that were some secret drawers. This example doesn't have that, and the reason that it doesn't have that is because we've got a full length drawer to the other side. So again, let's turn it around for you to see. There you go. And you'll notice it doesn't have a handle. And the reason it doesn't have a handle is because it's got a sprung bar to the back which pushes it in. This is very tight, but when we lift it out, you'll see that the drawer pops forward. There you go. So it runs the full depth of the box. Very long drawer. And you can see to the back the spring which forces it out. And you can also see to the drawer fascia the hole that this pin drops down into to hold it in place. So we'll just pop that back down there. Let's turn this box round once more. So it's a very interesting box because it's copying an English design, but it's not English. The chances are it's Chinese export, made in one of the Chinese ports. But they've imported inlaid stringing and this burr panel from England, or perhaps whoever commissioned the box had this and said, look, I want you to use this. They've used white metal for the strap work, which offsets really nicely against this golden burr of the amboyna or similar wood. They've used solid board, but it's quirky in that they didn't think about the simple task of fixing these little wedges so that they didn't pop out. So a very interesting box, and it's going to be early to mid 19th century in date. It's had a little bit of damage here to this corner at one stage. That's been broken, and an old bit of wood has been used to replace it. That looks like it was done really quite some time ago. So probably Chinese export, amboyna or a very similar wood, early to mid 19th century, and it's what we would call a jack-in-the-box writing slope.